Buffalo Bill Cody. I thought he was P.T. Barnum with a horse and a wardrobe that would rival the Kardashians. What do you expect with fancy duds like this? Wrong. He was the real deal, with an unequaled flair for showmanship, which did more to promote a version of the West, both here and abroad, than anybody at the time. He became a Pony Express rider at 15. He saw action during the Civil War. He became an Army Scout, and in 1867 became a buffalo hunter, claiming to have killed 4,000 buffalo in 18 months, earning his name. He returned to scouting for the Army in 1868 and participated in 16 battles during the Indian Wars and received the Congressional Medal of Honor in 1872. His reputation was building through dime novels in the East. After Custer's defeat in 1876, Cody was called back as an Army Scout. His national recognition encouraged him to open Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, which ran for 30 years and became the most popular traveling show the world had ever seen. Among many acts were a real Pony Express, an attack on the Deadwood stage, and a climax tableau of Custer's Last Stand, with real Lakota Sioux who had participated in it. For one season, Sitting Bull was part of the show and billed as the Slayer of General Custer. Cody brought Annie Oakley on in 1885, and she became known as Little Sure Shot. I have modified my initial opinion somewhat. It would appear he did a lot of things requiring courage, but he was simply unable to leave the act alone on his part. He had to embellish it a lot. However, he apparently did love little children, despite the little boy on the right, who appears a bit bored with the same old tall tales. Phoebe Ann Moses became famous at age 15 years old. She defeated an older and well-known sharpshooter in a contest, and later married him. She became known as Annie Oakley, an extraordinary shot and major sensation of Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. Among her many accomplishments, she successfully sued William Randolph Hearst for libel. Would it be accurate to call this a hip shot? This is the oldest state law enforcement agency in North America, formed in 1835 when Texas was still owned by Mexico. They were described by a writer. They ride like a Mexican, trail like an Indian, shoot like a Tennessean, and fight like the devil. They were the only men to respond to Colonel Travis for help defending the Alamo. They fought and died there. Yes, the Texas Ranger. Their legend is enormous, and they did it without Walker. A story goes about the Rangers that a distraught local sheriff asked for help from the Rangers, that a mob was forming in town and he was afraid of a riot. Upset when only one Ranger came to his aid, the sheriff was told, "One riot, one Ranger." The American rodeo is purely a symbol of the West. The rodeo is cowboys on steroids. We talked about the sculptor Harry Jackson in depth. Here he captures a real event by a real cowboy and a real horse, but gives it a universal appeal. Entitled Two Champs, Jackson captures in violent detail the legendary rodeo ride of two champions, Clayton Danks and Old Steamboat. The champion bronc, Old Steamboat, had never been broken and was described as the fiercest bronc at the rodeo. They met head-on in 1909. In those days, the rider had to stay aboard until the horse stopped bucking. Today, they have to last only 8 seconds. Danks stayed aboard until Steamboat was broken. Both champions are installed in the Frontier Day Hall of Fame. An early effort to break the bronc resulted in a headlong crash into a corral fence, splitting his nose. When he breathed heavy, it whistled. He sounded like a steamboat. President Ford, in celebration of our bicentennial in 1976, presented a casting of two champs to Queen Elizabeth, where it resides in the Crown's collection today. It is worth noting, the state of Wyoming has had a bucking bronco and rider as the state seal. It's on their license plates, and it's the University of Wyoming's logo. It is Clayton Danks, an old steamboat. Quanah Parker was a powerful, brilliant, and influential leader of the Comanche Nation, a feared war chief, and the main spokesman for peace, and he was half white. He was the son of a Comanche chief and a white woman named Cynthia Ann Parker, who was captured by the Comanche as a child. The Comanche fought the military and whites for 40 years. They displayed a special hatred for the buffalo hunters. This is an 1868 photo of a scalped buffalo hunter. When the Comanche finally surrendered in 1875 and settled into reservation land, Quanah became the revered spokesman for his people, encouraging peace, fair treatment, and forging powerful contacts in Washington, including Teddy Roosevelt. In addition to all his duties, he had 7 wives and 23 children. This man was busy. Bat Masterson was the real deal. Army scout, buffalo hunter, Indian fighter, professional gambler, journalist, and served with Wyatt Earp as deputy sheriffs in Dodge City in 1876. Later, as a journalist in New York City, Masterson became known as a White House gunfighter. His friendship with Teddy Roosevelt earned him a federal appointment. This is probably the only image of Bat Masterson on the left and Wyatt Earp together while they were serving as deputy sheriffs in Dodge City in 1876. He billed himself as the only law west of the Pecos. Eastern dime novels loved him, calling him the hanging judge. In fact, he sentenced only 2 cowboys to be hanged and 1 escaped. Judge Roy Bean. Among the facts and myths, he was a real killer, convicted of murder, arrested and escaped, a failed businessman, a con man. He stole from his brother, abandoned his children, was hanged, and the rope stretched and he hit the ground. A saloon keeper, and very questionably appointed as Justice of the Peace. His saloon was his courthouse. Jurors were his best customers and obliged to drink during trial breaks. There have been 4 Hollywood films, a dozen TV episodes, and several novels featuring the life and times of Judge Roy Bean. Episode 17 links the legendary Geronimo and the Apache people with the acknowledged most important Native American artist and sculptor, Allan Hauser. This one is not to be missed.